Hello.
That was
Hello.
beautiful.
I
Oh,
love
So
it.
glad you enjoyed that. I worked really hard
Yes.
on it.
you did.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah, that
you.
was fantastic. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carnivores After Dark. We've got the fierce felines. We have G, we have Robyn, we have Rhonda and Laura, and we have the Lioness lifestyle. We have Cristie, we have Adrain, and myself, Ellie. So excited to have this wonderful panel of ladies. We're going to be sharing our journeys, our insights, our experiences on the carnivore diet. To begin our discussion, we're going to share a little bit about our personal journeys. So, for me personally, I started the carnivore diet because I thought it was the best way to lose weight. Little did I know that not only was going to help me lose weight, it was going to take away my depression, take away my panic attacks. It was going to bring my periods back to normal. It gave me so much confidence, so much energy, and it makes me a better mom. It makes me a better wife, and it makes me more grounded, and I'm not up in the air with all this anxiety and thinking about what's tomorrow going to bring. Instead, I'm here today to say that this diet has been phenomenal for myself and all of these ladies that are here today. And I'm so excited to hear a little bit more from each of and every one of you. Laura, why don't you share a little bit about your personal journey with the carnivore diet?
Sure. So my journey did not go from standard American diet into carnivore. I actually was keto for 28 years. And I will be carnivore this June will be my 5-year carniversary. It's the best decision I ever made for myself and for probably my husband would say for him. He's not carnivore, but I'm a nicer person when I'm carnivore. It helped me mostly with the things I noticed first was my cystic acne. I had depression, anxiety. I still have OCD, but not to the level that I had it. It is more of just like I like tidy, which I think that's just my personality. I'm not like turning doorknobs 20 times. Joint pain was something I was having a lot of. And then I was 49, and so I was menopausal. And I already had a hysterectomy with just having my ovaries left. And so that high fat that you take in with carnivore completely helped the hormone imbalances that I had, probably in every area. So that is how carnivore has helped me so far. I think Cristie's next, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Cristie, and I started actually with keto, similar to Laura, but not 18 years ago or whatever. I wish. No, just last February of 2023, and it was strictly to lose weight. I had not heard about any of the other potential benefits, that could be gotten. I just thought, what way have I not tried? Because I've tried everything else, and my weight had yo-yoed up and down since I was a teenager, and I'm currently 48. So I started this at 47. And yeah, sure enough, the weight did come off. And then I like to say that I just kind of accidentally went carnivore because I'm a little bit lazy and I just didn't want to cook the broccoli. Nah, I don't really want that. I'm just going to eat the ribeye. And the next thing you know, I'm like, I don't have anxiety anymore. And I have all this energy. And what the heck? And so then that's when I'm like, I started researching. And I already had known who Dr. Berry was because I had been watching all of his keto stuff. And then I was like, oh, carnivore, what? That's a thing. It's not just me being lazy. After all, people do this, and look at all these potential benefits. So the main benefits for me have been like the initial ones were the anxiety going away, and then just the crazy energy coming out. But I've also had cystic acne in the past that's been greatly reduced. Some inflammation in a few of my joints, like my knuckles and my knee. And I also am nicer when I'm carnivore, and I'm a teacher. And I think my students appreciate that, as well as my own kids and probably my husband too. So yeah, I guess it's Rhonda.
Okay, Cristie, thank you. Well, 30 years ago, I was diagnosed with hypertension, which is high blood pressure. And the medications that were prescribed to me didn't make me feel very well. And so I tried different dietary approaches such as Atkins, South Beach, the blood type diet, Plant Paradox, Weight Watchers, and I would lose some weight, but my blood pressure remained elevated. So I was praying for my healing because I wanted to be medication free. So in the fall of 2022, Dr. Anthony Chapey's video called Plants Are Trying to Kill You popped up in my YouTube feed, followed by Dr. Ken Berry's videos. And so January 1st, 2023, I made a commitment to follow Dr. Ken Berry's Beef, Butter, Bacon, and Egg Challenge. And about 3 months after following the carnivore lifestyle, my blood pressure was normalized. And an added bonus was I lost additional weight that I needed to lose. And my total weight loss total was 80 pounds, which that I lost because my highest weight was 200 pounds. So that's the benefits of the carnivore diet for me. And like Cristie said, I have increased energy also. And so, Adrian, I think you're next.
Hi, my name's Adrain. I've been on a long journey. It really kind of kicked off when I lost 66 pounds on the TV show, The Biggest Loser. And then I gained 100 back. And since then, I've just been struggling to lose weight, maintain it, but also started autoimmune. And I've tried everything from gastric bypass to running half marathons and restricting my calories down to 800. I've literally tried it all. And it wasn't until I got very, very sick my last pregnancy with the bad virus. And after having that, I just never was the same. I had neuropathy. After eating, my limbs would go numb, my neck would go numb. I would stop. It would be hard to breathe after eating. I was having food reactions. I wasn't sleeping. I was stumbling down the hall. I was constantly peeing. I was so stiff and all my joints hurt. I had lichen sclerosis. I mean, I was just so sick and desperate. And at that time, I was struggling with a lot of hypoglycemia. So my dad said, how about you just cut? Because I had restricted. All I was eating was a couple low carb veggies and meat. And I wasn't having dairy or chemicals. I'd already cut all that. So I've been low carb, veg, and meat for years in an attempt to kind of keep some of this stuff at bay. When that was no longer working, I cut the veg. And I couldn't believe it cured my hypoglycemia. I mean, this was debilitating for 10 years. It was debilitating. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't throw my kids a birthday party. I could barely drive them to school without my blood sugar dropping, even though I was eating such a clean diet. And so it's been such a relief. And so how about you, Robyn?
Hi, everybody. It's Robyn.herron here, your carnivorous grandma. Super excited to be with these ladies tonight. I love you guys. So, I guess the way my carnivore journey started was, of course, I have done all the diets. I forced my weight down over the years through a variety of different diets. So I would try the cabbage soup diet, and I tried medical weight loss, where you go and have the shots and you eat the food that they have. And then I tried the Atkins diet. I tried, restricting my calories. I tried increasing my calories. I tried all these different diets. So I would, when I'd get up around 199 pounds, I'd be like, okay, I got to force this weight back down through a diet. So I actually was watching Dr. Ken Berry, and he was keto. So I'd done keto for 5 years straight without cheating. It was kind of before the keto treats and all that stuff came in, and all these different keto products. Once the keto products started coming in, I had a lot of problems with cravings. And then one summer I decided, well, it's summer. I'm going to go ahead and have some sweet corn. And that was like the slippery slope down into the dungeon of like not being able to get back on keto. I would struggle to get back on it, and then I would fall off. I would deal with these terrible, terrible cravings. So I watched Dr. Ken Berry. He went from keto to carnivore, and I had been interested in carnivore, but I didn't try it because I thought going carnivore was crazy. Like, you're going to kill yourself. if you do this, you're going to probably kill yourself. So I watched Dr. Berry and he didn't die. And I was like, I'm going to try it. So last February, like Cristie, last February, I decided that I was going to try carnivore. And so many amazing things happened. Like my IBS went away. It took about 30 days for my system to normalize or to regulate. But once I had the first normal bowel movement that I feel like I've ever had in my adult life, I was like, it was miraculous. Let me say it was amazing. And then my eczema has cleared up. Like you can see on my face, I do not have eczema on my face, which I always had these raccoon eyes and a dark circle around my mouth because it was just constantly itching. Eczema all over my body. Even the dyshydrotic eczema in my hands has really cleared up at this point. And I hope that I'm looking at them going, oh my God, look at this. They're not blistered. So another thing is, of course, the brain fog. Having the brain fog is almost like you don't know that you have brain fog until the brain fog lifts. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And the other thing is like anxiety. I used to have these chronic thoughts about food all the time. I would constantly just rehearse it over and over again in my mind. Maybe that was like an OCD type of a thing. I would constantly be thinking about food every minute of every day, every waking moment. I was thinking about, what am I going to eat? Do I need to go to the store? What am I going to cook? Blah, 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 blah. All on and on and on. And then YouTube. I had to put YouTube in here. Because starting a YouTube channel as part of this carnivore journey has been absolutely incredible. The community that we found here, you can see these beautiful ladies here, all my friends. And, it's just absolutely fantastic. So the carnivore way of eating has absolutely changed my life for the better. And I absolutely love it. G, you're up next.
Yes, I love it. It's a celebration.
So if I stay quiet, it ends up acting like this. So hi everybody, my name is G Brown. I'm gonna watch from backstage, but I want you guys to know I have a list of what went on with me. I had bursitis, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia. I had bulging disc in my lower back where I was getting back injections. I suffered with restless leg, UTIs, sciatica, vertigo, carpal tunnel, high blood pressure, diverticulitis. I snored. I had skin tags. It was difficult to open up jars. And then I developed depression and anxiety. I had never had that before. So Frederick is the one that started the diet. We're coming up on our 1 year. I think for him, it's the 26th. For me, it's the 28th of the, look at that, the 28th of this month. And when I say to you, we started this for 30 days, but I promise you, it has truly become a lifestyle. And let me just say, before we jump back to Robyn and the next segment, ladies, my hat is off to you, ladies. I just listened to your stories. And when I say to you, I'm just thankful that you found this way and you're doing what works best for you. So I'll be in the comments. You guys have a great show. Thank you. Wait a minute. Hold on. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead, guys.
We're going to Ellie next.
All right, so for this first segment, we're going to be talking about nutritional considerations. So discussing how we meet our nutritional needs as women and all the things that come with it, because, this diet is first and foremost about food. So when I first found the carnivore diet, I was following like Dr. Ken Berry and and also Dr. Anthony Chafee. And there was a lot, and Dr. Kiltz actually too. And there was a lot of emphasis for fat for women. And so, although I wouldn't consider myself a high fat carnivore, I have definitely upped the fat since my previous diet, which is the standard American diet. And so there was a lot of like, I had to teach myself what high fat meant. So obviously just picking the fattier cuts of meat, lots of, for me personally, cheese and butter. And so that's been great because I like those pieces anyway. I mean, I'm not eating chicken breast, let's just say that. So, and also lots of fatty fish like salmon. That's some of my favorite foods. And of course, fatty cuts of red meat and eggs. So it was really funny because in the beginning of my carnivore journey, I had suffered with a lot of rosacea, and it was like debilitating. Like I hated it. I hated myself. And then I noticed that when I was eating eggs, my face started getting worse. And so I had to cut eggs out. So even if it's a carnivore food, if it's affecting you, give yourself a break. Your body might need to time to figure out what's going on. But now I can honestly say that I love eating eggs. I love eating salmon. I love eating ribeye when I can get it. And with meal planning and stuff like that, I really try to bulk cook. So if I'm making one meal, I'm trying to make some leftovers for the next meal because I have 2 little toddlers that are more meat based as well. And so they get hungry. And then when they want food, it's like, let's just make it right now. So I'm always making a batch cooking. If I make bacon, I'm making at least 1 sheet pan full of bacon. And also, I find it so great to feel so satiated. I feel like my nutritional needs are satisfied. I'm no longer hangry. I'm not, I feel like I'm not in this fight or flight mode anymore. I feel like I'm so calm and and it's just like, it's absolutely amazing how calm one can be when you suffer with so much with panic attacks and depersonalization disorder and depression. And it's like, now I can just eat these nutritional, delicious foods, and I can look at everything with a clearer mind. Like Robyn was saying, that brain fog, when you don't know it's there, you're just kind of going around blind thinking of, just trying to live through life. But then when it's gone, it's like you see the light and you finally can recognize what needs to be done. So I definitely think that this diet has benefited my nutritional needs, and it's been really wonderful not to have to do the low fat diet that's usually recommended for women. Laura, what are you doing?
Yes.
How's it going over there?
Yes. So I've been what they call Lion for about, I think it's 16 or 17 months now, out of the almost 5 years of carnivore. So I did follow Dr. Berry. I listened to their stuff, and Nisha and different people like that. But I'm always one of those kind of people that I don't necessarily want to follow something exactly the way somebody else is doing. It's just, I always march to the beat of my own drum. I'm kind of strange that way. And so I just kind of naturally went to Lion because I was having histamine reactions, and I didn't know if it was from dairy, if it was from eggs, egg whites, what it was from. But I cleaned up everything and went to just ruminant meat, fat, and salt and water. I drink so much water, I can't even tell you how much. I'm part camel. But I will tell you that when I did that, my healing was even more robust, and my moods were so much better. I did realize that probably because of so many years. I'm 53, so all these years that we heard not to eat fat, even though I had done keto that was higher fat, I still found that I wasn't eating enough fat for my body, and everybody's is different as to what they require. I was having trouble sleeping. I was having what was the other thing? I had 2 things. I had trouble sleeping. Oh, and then I was starting to get brain fog. I haven't had enough fat today. And I found when I bumped up my fat, that went away. So I don't so much do 50-50 meat protein now because I track nothing, weigh nothing, because I get too OCD on that stuff. So I just have to avoid those items. But basically my plate would be half ribeye fat and half whatever the protein was. Excuse me. And so that's what I have found to work for me. But like you say, everybody has to come into this and find what works best for them. We all have different conditions that are going on, different genetics that we're coming from. And I have never believed, even in nursing school, that your genetics, these are your markers and you're just shit out of luck. This is the way they're going to be. And I always was like, well, I don't think that's true. And if you look at my family, they're all massively morbid obese. Did I get there? I did. But I think it was more genetic traits of family history of this is how we eat, not genetically what it was set to be. So I think all of us have something like that we just need to kind of find our way through here, listen to multiple people, all the doctors, all these channels, and kind of pick little pieces and try things out and kind of see how they go. What about you, Cristie?
So for me, I mean, I didn't really pay too much attention to my nutrition before going to this way of eating. Even when I went into keto, it was just all about weight. It was all about the number on the scale. And if it said one thing, I was, feeling better about myself. And if it said another thing, I was feeling worse and panicky and like I need to starve myself now to get that number lower. And so going into carnivore, I haven't, taken any, supplements, major quantities of vitamins or worried about like, am I getting enough vitamin C? Like I've heard, people talk about that. And I didn't worry about it because I just listened to, the doctors say, well, if you're just eating the meat, you're getting everything you need. And I figured my body would probably tell me. And I've done nothing but feel better and better. The only anything that I'm currently taking other than my food is I do take some iodine, the 2%, anywhere between 3 to 5 drops a day. And I do have to supplement with some electrolytes because if I don't, my calves will cramp up. Like I'll go to stretch my leg in the night and then it cramps up pretty good. But other than that, I don't really take anything supplement wise. And I mean, I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm like Laura, that I feel like I need to eat more fat because I've tried it both ways. Because going carnivore, my weight started to creep up again. And I haven't like solved that, but I don't know if I will, but I'm also not super worried about it because I feel so good. My mental health is so good. And if I don't eat enough fat, I start to have trouble sleeping. I start to feel a little brain foggy. I start to crave fat. Like I really just need to eat a spoonful of butter right now, or what have you. So I just tend to listen to my body in that regard. And the only other thing about nutrition I would say is that eating this way, I am a lean mass hyper responder. So my doctor pretty much thinks I'm going to fall over dead at any minute. And we kind of had to part ways. But I think because in that same blood work panel, I did get, my thyroid was a little wonky, which is why I started on the iodine. And I do need to do some blood work. And I know I can use like Own Your Labs and things like that and get that done on my own, to see if that's, working. But generally speaking, I don't go into the minutia in my head about vitamins, minerals, and things like that. And I eat a lot of beef, mostly beef, although I'm not Lion. I'll occasionally have, chicken, eggs and bacon, and some pork, other pork besides bacon, like pork ribs or things like that. But with a heavy emphasis on beef, probably. Every day I probably eat some beef, and then one of those other things maybe once or twice a week. And I'm feeling great. So let's see. I forgot to see who was after me. I guess it is. Where are we? I guess it is Rhonda.
Yeah. Okay, so like you, Cristie, I meet my nutritional needs with this lifestyle by incorporating healthy fat. Now, at first, when I started carnivore, I think because all the years of being pre-programmed that too much fat isn't good for us, I wasn't adding enough fat. I didn't realize we have to add more fat. If we think we're getting enough fat, we're probably still not. So after listening to Dr. Elizabeth Bright, even Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Kiltz, they emphasize the need to add more fats. So how I incorporate healthy fats in my lifestyle is I add grass-fed butter to my meals. I even add it to my, when I was drinking coffee, I added it to my coffee, but to my bone broth, I add the grass-fed butter to my bone broth. I even add egg yolk, because egg yolk is a good source of fat. And I froth that up and make a fatty latte. Let's see, I cook with beef tallow and bacon grease and ghee. And let's see, another way I incorporate more fat. Oh, I also add the egg yolks on top of my burger patties. And when I can, as often as I can, because ribeye steak has a 1-to-1 fat to protein ratio, I chop those up into bites and make steak bites, take them to work every day. And I eat a lot of beef because I think the beef is the more nutrient dense meat to eat. So I usually eat the ribeye, the fattier cuts of meat like ribeye, ground beef, and lamb chops. Now with supplementation, I wasn't adding any supplements until Dr. Bright was saying that we need more iodine, that our food supply really doesn't have enough iodine. And so I do take the 2 drops of the iodine Ludols I add it to my bone broth when I drink that every day. And I also use red mineral salt because it has the trace minerals that we need for our bodies. So let's see, Dr. Chafee, he even stated in a podcast that fat is not just a calorie source, it is an essential nutrient. So there are essential fatty acids that we must have that we cannot get from anything except animal sources. And they come with a lot of fat soluble vitamins that we do need that are essential. So when we're getting these nutrients from the fat and from a high nutrient dense food like beef, ribeyes, we will stay more satiated and have better energy levels. So, so that's how I've been eating mostly and getting my nutrients. Other than that, I don't really think about supplementation. And I think that's all I have. I forgot who was next. I think it is Adrian. Adrian, what do you got for us?
Well, prior to this, I guess I was eating low fat, and then my fats were plant fats. I was having olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil. And I was cooking with those, and I didn't realize we shouldn't be cooking with plant oils. Those should be just put on top of salads. You should be cooking with animal fats. That was a huge paradigm switch of like, where do you even source these? So I started using butter. I was using a lot of butter until I figured out how to render my own tallow, which is super easy. And a local butcher had the suet for me in the freezer, and I just cook it down. It's pretty cheap. It's like $3 for a jar. When you do it all, versus if you buy it at like Whole Foods, it's like $13.99 a jar. But I know you can also buy it on Amazon by the tub, like a nice big tub for like $23, I think. But I like to render my own because I get a jar this big for $3. So one thing that I was doing before was I had a quail farm. I had 600 quail. And I also had 20 rabbits, and we raised 100 meat chickens at a time. So we had all these lean meats, and that's what we were eating. And now they were all rehomed. The rabbits, the quail, everything was rehomed, because now, compared to having red meat, that meat just tastes so, it doesn't even matter if I instant pot it. It's just not as good to me as red meat. So today my primary foods are picanha, right, Cristie and Ellie?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I could eat picanha every day. I feel that the Lioness lifestyle, we are going to coin a picanha fast. People will have significant health benefits. It will be amazing. More to come on that, guys. And then I also love flank ribs, and I eat a lot of burger patties. And here's what's funny about this way of eating is if you do it right, when you go out to eat, you can actually save money. I am the cheapest one now if we do it right. There's some places that'll charge you for that little piece of meat they give you, and they'll charge you for the whole meal. We don't go to those places. We go to Applebee's where I can get a nice burger. We go to Old Chicago. We go to Buffalo Wild Wings. We go to Texas Roadhouse where we can get a lot of meat, a la carte. I often get a lot of burger patties. Another thing that's changed is I like our steak at home better. The steak in the restaurant, I used to think it was so amazing, and now I just feel disgusted paying $35 for a steak that doesn't taste as good as mine, and they probably accidentally cooked it in some seed oil, even though I asked them not to, and they probably put some spices on it, even though I asked them not to. So I just prefer to eat my steak at home. But burger patties, those I can eat out. Now, supplementation, I'm taking a wild amount of supplementation because I have chronic inflammatory response syndrome, so I'm not going to lump that in here. But ultimately, I know a lot of people who've had bariatric surgery and they've found they don't need to take these supplements we were told to take because the nutrients in the red meat is so much more bioavailable than what we're going to get in any supplement. So if you can't absorb it from meat, you're not going to absorb it from the supplements. And
Uh-oh, did we lose her?
Come back. Come
and
back.
a lot of like
It was me.
sorry. So anyway, I'm the big supplement, I guess I do use Keto Chow. They have a clean slate. It has no citric acid in it and it has no maltodextrin, which the competition that I'm not naming does have those two things. So it's a bit cleaner. And so I basically drink a lot of salt water and I take some stuff for SIRS, but the goal there would be to get off of it. So that's the nutrition and I'm loving it. I'm full. I was never really full off of the chicken and the vegetables. And I get to be full like every single meal now. And I feel nourished. My skin is better. There's just nothing better than getting to be full. That is sustainable right there just because we get to be full. How about you, Robyn?
I totally 100% agree. Like I was always starving in the past. You know, I could eat bags and bags of salads and vegetables and stuff. I was never full. And I felt like I wasn't supposed to be full. Like it was just not, you know, we're all supposed to be just a little bit hungry, but that's not actually the case. So as far as meeting my nutritional needs, I really focus on my meat-based way of eating. I don't take any multivitamins or anything like that. The supplements that I do take are, of course, as was mentioned by a couple of people already, the iodine. Dr. Bright, actually, G just did an interview with Dr. Bright. And the question that I had for her was, because I started taking 4 drops of iodine, and she said that everybody should take 4 drops. So just putting that out there. If you haven't seen G's video. Because we're just so deficit in iodine. I also do take electrolytes. Again, as people have said already, if I don't take electrolytes, I will get some kind of feet cramping or Charlie horses in my sleep when I'm stretching, which is just awful. So I take the electrolytes. And then I do also take collagen. So I've been taking collagen actually for years. And I did go back to having decaf coffee. So I put that collagen in my coffee and along with my electrolytes and my iodine. So I just got out of an interview with Coach Bronson, and we were talking about nutrition, and the key things that he said for nutrition, and actually Adrian's kind of started to touch on this, is having nutrient density, which, as was said, red meat is the most nutrient dense meat that you can eat, or food that you can eat. So nutrient density is number 1. Number 2 is bioavailability. Like, is the nutrition available to your body? So our bodies can't break down the vegetables to get the nutrition out of it. Even though they may have a lot of vitamins, they may have a lot of nutrients in there. Our bodies don't have the 4-chambered stomach to be able to break that down and get the nutrition out of it. So red meat is very bioavailable. Our body can break that down into all of the little nutritious components that we need for our health. And then also satiety, just what Adrain was talking about as she was wrapping up her conversation on nutrition, is not being hungry is absolutely incredible, or actually being full, satiated, eating until you feel satiated is a great and awesome thing. I absolutely love that. So those are the three things is that he mentioned around nutrition and fuel. For me, I am a foodie. I love to cook. And so I would go to the library, or I would go to the store and buy all these books, magazines, and stuff. And I would cook all different kinds of cuisines, everything that you can think of, any kind of like international cuisines that we don't get over here. I would cook them at home. Well, now we don't really do that anymore. So that's something that I do miss a little bit. And I find that to be one of the challenges that we have with our with food preparation, is that I miss the big cooks, and getting all the ingredients together and making all these fancy dishes and stuff, and having all those different, kind of tastes and stuff. So I do miss that sometimes. But as far as food preparation, it's so simple. I can take a frozen ribeye out, put it in the air fryer, and be eating in like 15 minutes at the max. Just push the button once. That's all I do, is push the button once. Whatever that number is, that steak comes out perfectly. So cooking is very, very simple. There are certain cooking types that I like to do. So I like to do the cast iron cooking, and I love to do my grill when it's warm outside. The grill gets a workout almost every single day. And one of the things that I really want to learn to do, and I can't wait to talk to Carnivore Kip again, because we're going to talk about smoking. And so that's one of the things that I really want to learn to do. But right now, my stepdad is the smoker king, and he'll make me any kind of smoked meats that I want. So that's kind of my take on nutrition. Is I'm doing a little bit of a supplementation, but most of my nutrition is coming from my meat. So we're going to move on to the next segment, which is talking about hormonal health. I'm going to be very brief here, because I am in menopause. Praise thee, oh Lord. I'm so happy to be in menopause. But what I will say is that, of course I still have hormones, but when I first started the carnivore diet, after 1 month, I had not had a cycle in over a year, but after 1 month, I had a full-blown menstrual cycle. Sorry, guys. And I was like, what the heck is happening here? What is happening? It caused something to happen with my hormones that caused that to happen. And we hear about like carnivore and keto babies, how people who have been in menopause start having babies again after they go on a carnivore diet. Well, that didn't happen to me, but I did have a menstrual cycle. So it does do, maybe Laura or somebody will talk about how this affects your hormones, because that did happen to me. And that's the one thing that I can say about my hormones. And the iodine, of course, is something that I'm doing to regulate my hormones. So I am going to pass it off to Adrain next, and she's going to talk about hormonal health.
I would absolutely love to say the carnivore diet and fat cured my hormones. I would love to tell you that, but unfortunately that is not my story. I would like to say though 2 things. Number 1, I've tested positive and I am doing chronic inflammatory response syndrome. I'm doing the Shoemaker protocol. So that affects this. But secondly, I've only been like a friend, Caitlin from Grass Fed Girl. She reminded me I've only been carnivore for 16 months. These hormones have been a wreck for maybe 10 years, and I've only been doing this for 16 months. So the experiment isn't over. So unfortunately, I still have a lot of perimenopause symptoms. I've got 21-day cycles, 45-day cycles, 21, inflammation. It's a wreck over here, you guys. I wish I could say that it was fixing it, but here is one thing that absolutely has gotten so much better, which is my sleep. And that's, I can't heal if I'm not getting sleep. I can't heal if I'm not nourished, and this just leaves the slate open. I even tried the Lion diet to see if that would heal it. Now, I'm only a few, 50 days in or 60 days in or something, but it did not heal it. Now there's other contributing factors too. My friend Lisa was telling me that, I paint my fingernails, my toenails, and I've been doing that since becoming carnivore because I feel so much better now that I lost weight, and that can, and I wasn't painting my fingernails before, and it soaks right into your blood, and that can be affecting my hormones. It might be why it's getting worse. Why it's not getting better. So I guess I gotta stop painting my fingernails. And I'm trying to switch to some better eye makeup and lip makeup. And, there's so many hormone disrupting things in our world. So I'm going to keep going. It's only 16 months, hopefully by 5 years, Laura, I've got it figured out. And, but in 5 years, I'll be nearly menopause age. So how about you, Laura? You are the expert with your nursing background, and give us a little info on this.
So the reason I think most people get such great healing towards their hormones with doing this lifestyle is because if you know what cholesterol does in the body, why we have a liver that produces 85% of the free-floating cholesterol that's in your bloodstream at any one time has zero to do with what you put in your mouth. It's actually what your liver produces for a specific reason. So all of the hormones except for, I believe, insulin, I think, is the only hormone in the body that is not started by a cholesterol molecule. So I think that is why most people have that helped. But as you said, there are so many disruptors. I started making all of my own deodorant, lotion, shampoo bars. I mean, everything years ago. I had so much tallow, when you've been doing this for 5 years, I have over 100 quart jars of tallow that I have rendered to where it's pure white and it's canned. Like it'll be good till you open the jar, and start using it. So you don't have to worry about it, going bad. But I had so much of that. And I was like, why am I putting aluminum right by my, in my armpit with all these glands right here? And I know what can come from that, And so I just had to figure out, if I'm trying to clean up what I'm putting inside my body, I have to clean up what I'm putting on my body. And one of the number one things, and I drove a lot of my bosses crazy in the hospital setting and the nursing home setting during COVID, because, they were running around chasing you with those alcohol bottles. And I'm like, dude, I am using soap and water. Each patient's room has a sink. I'm not putting that crap on my skin. Your skin is your biggest organ. It's porous and it's like a sponge. It soaks everything in. And I'm not doing that to myself. There, you have to. And I'm like, there's a lot of things I have to do, and that's not one of them. And I never did it. I really, maybe one time out of 3.5 years of craziness that I ever used that. So I think we have to just think about, like you said, that I know the nail polish, it's like, what? And it's like, yep. And I did know that. I think, I don't even remember how I came across that. It might have been that Barbara O'Neill. I watch a lot of her stuff. She's really amazing lady. But yeah, anything that we can do to try to clean up as much as possible, and I'm not trying to plug my stuff, but I do keep my stuff cheap, and I am cheap. I know G says don't say cheap, say you're frugal, but I do keep it very, very cheap because I want everybody, every income to be able to have that stuff. They can get it. I had a lady yesterday who drove like, I think an hour to come up and meet me so that she could pick up all these products. She picked up one of everything and to meet me. It was absolutely amazing. We were like kindred spirits. It was amazing. I'm not a hugger. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, I have to give you a hug. And then I was like, I feel weird, because I'm just not that kind of person. I'm just not, probably because, in nursing, you just give so much of yourself, which I love. But then sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be around nobody. I just want to be by myself, But it was pretty amazing to have somebody that was like, I'm going to drive an hour to get to you. And I was like, that's amazing. So yeah, I just think the more that we can clean up everything, and do it as inexpensive as possible, I think is the best. And nobody wants to go without deodorant, I don't think. I don't think that would be a good idea for any of us. So,
Carnivores don't
what
need
about
deodorant.
most of the time that is correct, but I will tell you there has been a few times, and I know what it followed. I only eat, a few egg yolks, and then it's all ruminant meat, salt, and water. But I got into this kick 3 weeks ago where I was like, oh, pork rinds aren't that bad. And I bought little teeny bags because I'll eat the whole thing. And I ate, a couple of just the small bags. And then we went out to build the garden for my husband because we know I'm not eating anything in it. And I mean, it was super hot out there. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, do we have onions in the garden? Which we had, but they were and I was like, oh shit, I'm stinky. So I was like, well, time to go take a shower because I had just not put any on that day because I don't really have to use it every day. But yeah, so that is true. What about you, Elle?
Yeah, I think that my hormonal health was at its lowest. And this was before the carnivore diet when I did keto. This is in around 2018. I was 240 pounds. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I had really irregular periods. Like there was some months where I was getting it every 3 months, every 2 months, 40 days, 50 days. Like it was just random. And if I didn't keep track of it, which I'm horrible at tracking things, but that I was diligent on, I noticed that I had a lot of symptoms, probably leading to PCOS, possibly very heavy cramping when I did have my period. Lots of some facial hair like on my upper lip, and I mean I'm part Italian, but I'm not going to blame that. And I had a lot of other symptoms which I think is possibly PCOS, but I didn't take care of myself back then, if I'm being honest, because I was just so depressed, and I didn't care about myself, so I never got like a diagnosis from a doctor. But when I started eating the proper human diet, keto back then, it became more regulated, and I was able to get pregnant because we had been trying for at least a year and there was nothing, and then we were blessed with my daughter. And I wish I had kept up with keto, but my doctor had, she kind of shamed me and put guilt on me and warned me that it would harm my baby. So I stopped doing keto, although it had done so much for my health. And then I had my son, and both pregnancies were fairly normal. And I have kind of had like a more regular period since then because I had lost like 50 pounds. And then on the carnivore diet, I feel like my menstrual cycle is so much more predictable. It's like, it's pretty spot on. Like it's coming. Maybe it's a day off or two according to the app. And I think that's amazing progress. And sorry guys, TMI, but instead of bleeding for like 7 days and being very heavy, I'm only bleeding really like 3 days. And those last 2 days are very, they're manageable. And it's so wonderful thinking like, I don't have to walk around with this diaper anymore. It's like, I felt like it was really like debilitating sometimes. And I find my mood to be so much more calm now, especially since I'm over a year on the carnivore diet. Near the beginning, I had some issues with like anger and maybe being a little bit of emotional, but I think that's because I became so much more apparent about, my addiction, my food addiction and my emotional eating. And I had to like really confront that and some trauma from childhood and, and stuff like that. So I feel like those things play into our hormonal health and our well-being. And I definitely, I wouldn't say that I have any strategies necessarily, but you should be definitely eating to what you're craving unless it harms you. I think a lot of the time, oh, my light died. You're gonna see me in the dark. Sorry. Um, and I feel like with these, like, there's like these challenges that come up all the time, and I think we really need a variety of food. We need that cholesterol, we need that fat, and so I personally am not the biggest fan of those, but yeah, I would say that my hormonal balance has been so much better. My menstrual cycles have been better, and it's been a really a nice blessing. You know, I'm sure if I wanted to, I could have more children, and they would be, you know, super healthy because I'm healthy, and that's good to, you know, good to know if God blesses us with another one. But I'm really happy with my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, and I have a boy and a girl, and they're absolutely the best. And I feel like because my hormones are more in check and I am more calm, I feel like I'm a better mom. And that's been like one of the best, and a better wife too. It's been one of the best things ever. So let's move on to the next segment, shall we? So we're going to be talking about physical health and our performance. And so I would say, just to start off on that, I would say that my physical health has gotten so much better. So my highest weight was 240 pounds, and now I'm 168, 170. It fluctuates a little bit. And so, you know, that's like 70 plus pounds off of my body. And I feel like because of that, I have so much more energy. Like today, I am not kidding. I skipped breakfast because I had a really good ribeye last night, which is rare in my house. It's a nice blessing to have ribeye around. And I was washing all the dishes, and I was running here, running there, and cleaning, and I had so much energy. And it's like, there are some days where I have a slump, like, you know, don't get me wrong, but I felt like today was a great example of how great my energy can be, and my weight management has been fantastic. Like I don't even step on the scale anymore. I'm like, my clothes fit. You know, I started off at size 16 pants, and now I'm a size 10. I started at an extra large shirt. Now I'm in a small. Like I cannot, and I'm, you know, I carry more weight on my legs, but still, like the idea of being a small, anything small, and it's not a small portion anymore. You know, it's like I eat till I'm full. And I feel like because I've lost so much weight and my energy is becoming more stable, I feel like I probably can do more like exercise and stuff like that. But right now I'm looking forward to the summer and just playing in the pool with my kids. We have a pool in the neighborhood, and so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to my husband taking me on more walks, because you have to walk your wife, and because she's lazy. So I definitely think that those are all benefits that I've seen from my physical health and my performance. What about you, Rhonda? I'm going to fix this light while we listen to you.
Okay. Well, you know, the effects of the carnivore diet on my physical health, of course, have been number one for me, my reduced blood pressure. I'm just amazed every time I go to the doctor that my blood pressure is in the normal range. So that was my why, okay, for doing carnivore. I also did lose weight, so that was an added benefit. My highest weight was 200 pounds. And then I lost all the way down to 115 pounds. But since I started working, I've been eating 2 meals a day now instead of 1 meal a day. So my calories, of course, have increased. So I did gain, I think, 15 pounds back, but I don't know for sure because I did not step on the scale. But my clothes still fit fine. I'm in a small. I used to wear extra large, so I'm in a small shirts and pants. So it's amazing to me. I think because my job at Apple is so active. I'm on my feet all day and walking around. I don't have a sit-down job. So I think that's what's helping me stay, my weight to stay on track. And so since I've been working, I have not been exercising like I used to. Cristie, sorry, I used to sprint all the time, and I haven't sprinted since January, since I started working. But like I said, I'm so active at work that I don't feel like doing any other exercise when I get off work. So my non-scale victories, of course, the reduced blood pressure. I have increased energy. It is freaking amazing. I work around a lot of young people in their 20s, and they can't believe how much energy I have for a 60-year-old, being 60. And they're always commenting like, you don't even look 60. And how do you get so much energy? What are you doing? And that's when I have the opportunity to give my testimony and share the way I'm eating. So I have influenced a couple of people at my job, and they told me that they want to start the carnivore diet. So I hope they do. Also, I am in a better mood. I used to be, I don't know, I used to get ticked off very easily. Like my husband could push a button and I would yell at him, or I'd yell at my children, and I have better mood and improved sleep as well, even though I've always slept well, improved sleep. And also, I don't feel like I need to wear deodorant. At least I hope that's just not my opinion. And like Laura said, as long as I don't eat onions or garlic or any of those type of herbs, because those seep through your skin. So if you just eat strict carnivore, you won't need to use deodorant. At least I don't think so. And anyway, my gums no longer bleed. Every time I go to the dentist, I have a good report from my dentist, and it's just amazing. So those were my physical effects of the carnivore diet. Let's see, did I leave anything out? I think that's all I have. Let's see. I think it's Cristie's turn. Cristie, what do you got?
It is my turn. I'm so excited about this topic. Let me in there, coach.
Your physical effects of the carnivore diet on your physical and mental health. Hey, how's that?
Yeah, that's right. So, basically when I went carnivore, it was about June of last year. So I'm almost to my carniversary. Since it was accidental and not an actual choice, I don't exactly know the day in June. And by September, though, of 2023, I had so much energy that I'm like, I got to do something. And I've kind of exercised throughout my life, but always because like I had to. Like if I don't, it'll help me burn calories, and I have to, and I don't really want to, but and I'll go do it, right? And I hated it. But in September, I was like, I gotta do something. I have this energy. What am I gonna do with it? And so I had seen, I think similar to Rhonda, Dr. Sean O'Mara's videos talking about the benefits of sprinting. So there I am, a 47, bona fide middle-aged lady just sprinting up and down my cul-de-sac. And then I for sure thought I was the only one. And then I saw one of Rhonda's videos, and I was like, hey, yes. And that's kind of how we met, because I started commenting on her videos. I was so happy to find another lady who also sprints. And after that, in September, after doing that for the whole month, I just sort of started adding in some other things. So I've done, as Rhonda also knows, a plank challenge, because we did that one together. I did a squat challenge. I've done push-up challenge. I do like that challenge format just because it sort of keeps things fresh. Although I haven't done one, I need to like add one in. I like your idea, Adrain. I did download the app you were talking about it's called Step Bet. And I guess you put in $40, and then if you do your step goals, you get your $40 back, plus anybody who doesn't make their goals, you split that money. So I'm like, I'm down for that. I think I might do that as a challenge over summer. But yeah, I started walking recently. And I've also started lifting some weights as well. So I just kind of do, what I feel like my body feels like I want to do. I don't really have a set schedule, although I did there for a while. But I probably work out 3 to 4 days a week. I also interviewed Coach Bronson, although not as recently as Robyn. And I learned so much from him, but the best thing was rest days. I was like, oh, so I shouldn't just get all cuckoo and like, oh, if I work out on Monday and then working out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is better. Because it isn't just all about burning the calories. You do need to let your body recover in between. And so that's one of the takeaways I had from him. And then I will also talk about, so I have a patch of grass in my backyard now for the first time in I don't even know how many years, because you guys in Southern California, water is expensive. So we ripped out all of our landscaping that was grass, and it was just like a bunch of like rocks and mulch and not very comfortable to stand on. But ever since Mother's Day, Mother's Day was the first day my husband put the patch of grass in for me. It's just a small area. oh my gosh, it's been so nice. I can go out there in my bare feet. I'll go out there and like in my bare feet and do some squats and just kind of stand there, soak in the sun and just be outside. And Pixel's jealous because she watches me. This is my cat Pixel, for those of you that don't know, but she watches me from the back door so she can see me. She wants out there so bad, but she's an indoor kitty, so she doesn't get to come out with me. But oh, it's just something about soaking in the sun and having your bare feet on the ground. And I think Laura touched on this. Once you kind of learn about carnivore and feeding your body the right things, it kind of naturally progresses to what other things you can do, like the things you put on your body, but then, you know, your circadian rhythms and all of these kinds of things. So yeah, I've been going out on my patch of grass kind of at sunset, getting some natural light in my eyes and watching the sun go down. And in the summer, I'd like to get out there at sunrise. Sunrise is too late for me right now when I have to get ready to go to work and teach. And the last thing I will say, speaking of teaching, is I have so much energy to go and be with my students. It is not for the faint of heart to be in charge of a room of 30 10-year-olds, 10 and 11-year-olds for 7 hours. In fact, for Teacher Appreciation Week, the best gift I got was this, like, it was a glass cup with a glass straw and everything, but it says like chaos coordinator. And I'm like, if that's not my job description, I don't know what is. It was this great gift that I got from one of my students. And but yeah, I mean, I have the energy now, right, to coordinate the chaos, and I love it. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Laura. What you got for us?
All right. So my heaviest was 313, but that was in 1991 when I was 20. And when I started any form of exercise back then, it was literally as slow as walking as I could manage out to the mailbox and back because I would get so winded. It wasn't until I was 39 that I really started implementing exercise. I started running, kickboxing, things like that. Then when I started doing carnivore, all of a sudden I was like, I have to lift weights. I have to do rebounding. I had to do more aggressive workouts than even that. I love to sprint. I absolutely love that. I'll go out and hug my tree in the morning, stand in the grass. I don't care if people think I'm nuts. They already know it. It's okay. I don't even care. But I just find that eating this way, I do have that kind of energy. You know, I'm the kind of grandma that at Thanksgiving, I can go out on the trampoline with the grandkids for hours. I can, you know, run circles around them even actually. So that's kind of nice. You know, we're the oldest person there and you're like, the rest of them are half passed out because they're food drunk, you know, and they've just poisoned themselves with all the stuff that they, you know, it's like it tastes good, but did it really help them any? So, that is kind of what I have found with this is that I'm able to, and not that I want to show off, but I think that's a pretty good bicep for a 53-year-old. And, you know, so I do think that, you know, most people, like if I follow the women in my family, by the time they were 50, I mean, they didn't, you know, it's not that I mean, they were all heavy, but their arms were just nothing. You know, there was no muscle, there was no muscles through here. It just wasn't something they did. Like I tell my mom, like I love to do push-ups and I love to do burpees. And she's like, why? And I was like, because it uses every muscle in your body. And she was like, and I'm like, because I want to, because it makes me feel better. But I do think that we're able to maintain and build muscle as we get older. Well, thanks.
None of you look like you could be grandmas. It does not look like we can have any grandmas here. This is crazy.
I have an 11-year-old grandson. I don't know how old Robyn's Robyn. How old are your grands?
My oldest is 17 and the youngest is 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have 11.
Yeah.
I have 11 grandkids.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I have 4 grandkids and that's all. I can't do any more. I can't handle. It's too many. If I have them all at one time, I'm like, although they do know that grandma eats healthy. So even when they were younger, when I was doing keto, there's no candy. Like there's just not. It's always been dried fruit or tomatoes. We grow tomatoes and we do them thin sliced on the food dehydrator with some Italian seasoning or something, and it makes it real sweet. They would just come and get bags of that out from underneath the microwave. They just knew that's what was available. So that is what I have done to keep my muscles. And I think if you've suffered with depression and anxiety, most everybody I know that said exercise helped with that. And I find that that is true for myself, is that definitely helped me with any of those, because I'm an overthinker. So I think we'll go on to our next segment, which is mental well-being and lifestyle. So with that, one of the things it talks about is like, how do you navigate social situations and the societal norms that are put on people is kind of what I wanted to go over. And don't take this the wrong way, because I'm really a nice person, I promise. But I really I gave up sugar and everything white the day before Thanksgiving and went to, Thanksgiving at my in-laws. And I didn't impose it on them like you have to eat like me or I expect you to cook for me. But I also was not going to have any kind of conversations around why I'm eating the way I am or have them come down on me. I wasn't going to go for that, because like I said, when I was 313 pounds, oh, let's go have pizza. Nobody cared about it. But as soon as you start to try to get healthy, then you start getting all these opinions, and I'm like, nah. So I just always kind of nip that pretty much right away. If I kind of do like what Rhonda said, and I think is that if people ask questions, like if I'm out at a restaurant, which is very, very rare because they can't cook a steak, like you said, can't cook a steak as well as you can. But if we're out and somebody's like, oh, you're just eating meat, or they see my shirt, because most of my shirts is something about eating meat only, whether it be Healing Humanity shirt or whatever it is, then I'm like, yes. And then I go into, let's do a little education. And then as my job being a nurse going into people's homes, it is something that I go into every single patient's home. I had one that I felt like was too far gone at a very young age, had something very, very major and I had told myself ahead of time, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about smoking, just he should go skydiving and everything else he wants to do. It was that serious. But when I got there, he was like, well, I've already stopped smoking and I'm going to change this. And I was like, okay. So that was good for me, because then I got to do some of that education. So let's see what else when it goes to that. I think just being knowing what your why is for doing carnivore. And this is true for other people if they're doing ketovore, cleaning up their diet. You have to know what your why is, and it has to be strong enough for you to not give in to these people, because misery does love company. I hate to say that, but you see it with alcoholics, you see it with drug addicts, that they tend to want to get back around somebody and then see if they can get them coming back on board with them. And it's the same thing with food addiction. So I think as long as you know what your why is, once you start getting the better moods, the less brain fog, the more energy, and sometimes it takes a while for that to happen. But I think once you start getting that, it's easier for you to kind of stay on that and to defend your position if you feel like you need to defend it. I generally don't, unless I have somebody come at me on like my website or like on my YouTube channel. I might bring something up. I have a cat breaking in right now because he thinks it's supper time. Sorry. He's going to be 20 in July, actually. So anyway, that's what I would do for that. What about you, Cristie? Go on.
So I mentioned in my intro talking about how I accidentally went carnivore, and then I was like, I don't have anxiety anymore. Well, let me tell you, I didn't even know I had anxiety in the first place until it went away. And my first clue was, I was feeling good, I had some energy, and my son who is currently 15, but he was 14 at the time, got invited to an amusement park with a friend who also happened to be a girl. And I was like, okay, well, you can go, but only if I go too. Cause like her whole family was going to go and they had invited them, but they're strangers to me. I'm sure they're very nice, but I've never met them and all of that. Right. And then I'm like, wait, what am I saying? Like before that, I didn't want to go to the grocery store because people could see me. And when they were seeing me, they were probably judging me. And then my mind would go through all the ways they were probably judging me. And so I was extremely uncomfortable in public. I would never go for walks or just want to be, out in public. I had to kind of stay in my lane. So I would, go to my classroom, do my thing, come home, sit on the couch. And as long as I just did that and didn't go anywhere else, I felt okay. But if I had to go do something else, like the grocery store, or if I got invited somewhere and I couldn't get out of it and I would go, but I would just feel so uncomfortable and horrible and couldn't wait for it to be over the whole time that it was going on. But yeah, so normally, I mean, it's like strangers and what do I care? And normally I just would have said, no, you can't go. And here I am, just out of my mouth just came like, sure, you can go as long as I can go, and just have the mom, here's my, give the mom my phone number and have her text me and we'll work it out. And I ended up spending a whole day in an amusement park full of, thousands and thousands of people, and spent my day, although my son was there, he was hanging out with his friend and I was just with people that I had never met before that day and honestly haven't seen since that day. And I would categorize it as a nice day. Like, who even am I? And so, yeah, I found myself, setting up, times to get together with people, which I never would have done. All last summer, I had like a standing coffee date, because I still do include coffee, with a good friend of mine from work. Never once did I cancel and like feign a headache or, some reason to get out of it. I was, excited to go do that, every single week. And so just being able to be around people. And I just thought that I was just an introvert, and that's just the way that it was. But it was more than that. It was definitely some anxiety. And it just kind of went away, And then as far as social situations in the beginning, I would say that it was uncomfortable for me to some extent, because I was only eating meat. People are always going to say something. And now I'm like, I've just kind of turned a corner on that. And it doesn't bother me. I'll either just eat before I go, or if it's like a group thing where people are bringing stuff, then I'll just bring something that I know I can eat. Or I just won't, and if I'm just eating a big plate of meat, then that's what I'm eating and it's not a big deal. And it's gotten to the point that everyone at work knows, like I had mentioned before, we just had Teacher Appreciation Week, and they brought in lots of food, and a lot of times it's donuts and whatever. But there were 3 meals that they brought in, and they tried to make sure to have a carnivore option for myself and another teacher that is like a meat-based keto person. And it was so nice of them to do that. And they probably didn't do a perfect job at it. And there was probably some seed oils in there, but because I'm not going to like hold them to that standard. It was the fact that they were like, hey, we got this just meat thing for you. It was just so nice of them. So people in my life have just sort of started accepting it now. And I've had like similar to Rhonda, I've had a couple people, ask me about it and want tips. And I don't know if anyone's actually gotten started. I hope they do. But how about you, Adrain?
So prior to carnivore, I don't know if anybody can relate to this. I had this feeling in my chest constantly. It was just always there. And I tried many different medications and it wouldn't go away. Not a single medication made any difference. Prayer made a little bit of difference for sure. Therapy made no difference. It was like a physical feeling in my heart. And then there was also, my husband works on the road full time, and and then we have custody issues. So there's, with my big kids from my first marriage, so there's this overwhelming thing that I can't control. Husband being gone, custody with big kids, it's overwhelming and it's hard. And that used to weigh on me every single day. It like on my shoulders. Like it was heavy in my heart and my shoulders constantly. And it seemed like no medication, no therapy could help this. And now, and also I quit drinking 11 years ago, so we don't have that going on. I quit drinking caffeine years ago, so we don't have that going on. But cutting the plants, that feeling in my heart is gone. Now it's like, my kid got bullied at school. Okay, I have a reaction to that, but it kind of goes away instead of it lingering around and growing. It comes and go, because we still have life going on. That overwhelmingness, other than the cycle issues I'm having, because there's parts of my cycle where that overwhelm will come back, but then it goes away. Like I'm mostly relieved of this. Like I really do feel this like sense of calm. And I don't know if it was, my insulin was off, hormone disruption from the plants, inflammation, but a significant relief in that. I mean, truly, I feel like this is one of the reasons I can't go back to eating the plants for me, because I don't like to live like that now that I've experienced that it doesn't have to be like that all the time. And also I thought this whole time that I just didn't therapy hard enough. I didn't do something hard enough. It was my fault that this was there. It turned out for me, it was the plants. As far as like lifestyle, I'm not afraid to be the weirdo that brings a big old plate of twisty bacon and shares it with everyone. Or I'll bring carnivore bars. I love carnivore bars, steak pocket, put it right in your pocket. Or you could make pemmican. And then I'm not afraid, like I was on the dinner auction to raise money for our school last year, and they had chicken stuffed with cheese, and I wasn't doing chicken or cheese at that time. So I just shamelessly brought a big bowl of my bacon, and I brought a big bowl of steak. And then I donated a charcuterie board for the dessert auction, and then we purposely won the charcuterie board. So I was good. And honestly, people were looking over like, well, she eating, that looks good, So I'm not afraid to bring my own food. Burger patty, it's like burger patties everywhere. So that doesn't seem like an issue at all to me anymore. I hope I don't eat those words. But yeah, how about you, Robyn?
So you guys have all been really resonating with me with this mental thing, the mind, how interesting it is. I used to think that this total obsession with food was a normal way of being. It was just so natural for me to constantly be thinking like that. I have an example I want to give you guys about how my state of mind was, though. I always thought the worst about everything. If my phone rang, I would think somebody was in an accident, somebody died. Immediately, the first thing that I would think was something negative, always. I was at the airport. We had a tornado in my town. And I was just sitting here thinking about this. There was a tornado in my town and my flight got canceled. And I was at the airport, calm as can be. No problem. I called my husband. I said that the flight's canceled. They say they don't know when they're going to be able to reschedule it. It's going to be at least 48 hours. Can you come get me? He says, well, maybe you should get a hotel. The tornadoes are going the direction that you're in. So he couldn't drive out and get me that night. Everything. I was just so calm. I didn't freak out. And I was sitting here thinking, I didn't even think somebody got hurt or somebody died when there was a tornado that tore up the town over here. My normal reaction would have been to freak out. Somebody died, somebody's hurt, somebody's injured, just panic, complete panic. And I just now realized that didn't happen. That is a benefit of the carnivore diet. This whole way of not thinking, if my phone rings, I don't automatically think that somebody got hurt or injured or somebody was in a car accident. And I no longer think that is like a normal state of mind. I realized that I had some sort of like mental illness going on. I had some, anxiety or something was telling me or making me think something going on with my brain was making me think that something automatically is bad happening and that I don't have that anymore. And that is life changing. You know, it's absolutely life changing to not have to think like that. Every time the phone rings, you know, you almost don't want people to call you because, like, just text me, because I don't, text me unless something bad happened, because otherwise I'm automatically going to think something bad happened anyway. And that whole food obsession, it's just so freeing. So when you think about food freedom, not just being free from having to eat this and that and the other thing. Hi guys, my grandkids are here. And having the food tell me when it's time to eat it. Having the Oreos chattering out of the cabinet, or the Thin Mints talking out the freezer. I don't have that anymore. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to worry about it. I can look at different foods. I don't have to even think about having any of it. And I also don't have this impending sense of doom. So that to me is worth it. It's worth it to me to not eat another potato in my life if it's going to bring back that sense of doom. So that's my take on the mental well-being. It's been a game changer for me. So I'm really, really thankful for that. You guys, we are to the conclusion. Can you believe it? We made it. Yes. So we're going into our conclusion. I'm just talking about it right here, right now. Why you should try it. Those whys that you don't even realize that you have. I knew that carnivore would be beneficial for me in ways, but I had no idea of the amazing things that would happen, things that I never would have even thought of. Like, I always bring this up, my seasonal allergies went away. Like, I still sometimes might have to take an allergy pill, but that's going from having to take 1 or 2 allergy pills every single day of my life since I was a kid. So that was unexpected. The things that you don't know that it's going to do, those are the things that are going to be the best, like, oh my God, game-changing, life-changing things. Like Rhonda talks about her blood pressure going down. I mean, curing of issues that are supposed to be like chronic, incurable, diseases like bipolar, MS, type 2 diabetes, which they said is just chronic. You're just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until your limbs, you have to have your limbs amputated, or you go blind, or all these kinds of things, when actually you can heal your body from the inside out. So that's what I'm really, really excited about the carnivore diet. If you are thinking about trying it, try it. Just try it. I say 90 days. Some people say 30 days. If you want to give it 30 days, give it 30 days. Just try it and see if it benefits you. Now, I have heard some people say it didn't benefit me. I don't know how you tried it. Eat meat. Eat meat. And then see what happens. So as far as resources are concerned, I would mention Dr. Berry. Dr. Berry was the life-changing physician that told me that it was okay to try it. And he has a video on any ailment, almost every ailment that you can think of. There's a lot of other physicians out there, but to me, Dr. Berry was the one who changed my life, from watching him go from keto to carnivore and not die. All right, Cristie, you're up.
Awesome. Yeah, I would highly recommend that anyone who's even thinking about this tries it. Similar to what Robyn said. So pretty much every benefit that I got on carnivore, I was not expecting to get. I thought a change of diet was just for weight loss. I didn't believe that a nutritious diet could really impact your health that much one way or the other. And I would say that looking back, I watched my dad struggle with type 2 diabetes and at the end, Alzheimer's. And I think maybe not the type 2 diabetes, but I think the Alzheimer's, I was heading on that path. And now I feel like I'm not. Of course, I cannot predict the future, but I really feel like my mental clarity it's back. And it was gone, for a while there. I would also add that I had a calorie counter, incessantly counting everything I was eating in my head, and then not just counting it once, because that wasn't enough times. It was all day, every day. Let's count it. Let's recount it. Let's calculate it again. Let's just be sure. Okay. And then tomorrow, how can I plan to eat even less? Like, that is all gone. I have never felt so nourished and satiated in my life. I always thought that to lose weight, someone said this earlier, but that it was like I just had to be hungry. Like, it was fine. I just needed to be a little hungry all the time, or a lot hungry. And I don't feel that way anymore. When I'm hungry, I get to eat something, and I get to eat something that I do enjoy every time. And so I would recommend to just try it, because I don't even think that what benefits you're going to get until you try it and experience them for yourself. I would also say get plugged into a community, because I know for a fact that is what helped me, even though it's no one in my real life. I don't know any other carnivores. I know a couple of, real keto people, like my mom and my friend at work, and actually now my son. And that's great. And, but as far as actual, carnivores, I don't know anybody in real life, but I quickly got plugged in with this group online. We chat a lot over Instagram and texting and all this stuff. And I know that I can, talk to any one of them if I'm experiencing anything that I'm not sure how to deal with, as well as staying plugged into live streams like this when I'm not on live streams like this in front of everyone. I totally enjoy watching them and being in the chat and interacting with all the people that I know. It just sort of keeps you motivated, and keeps you going, because you will tend to sometimes feel like the odd one out in real life, as people around you are like not too sure about you and your life choices. It just kind of helps you stay grounded in what we know is the proper human diet. And so I would suggest that. As far as other resources, I wholeheartedly agree with Dr. Berry, and there's some other doctors. I won't list them all, because I'm sure these other ladies will mention them. But another doctor that I really enjoy is Dr. Tony Hampton, because he's just so like realistic and kind, but he speaks the truth. And so I really enjoy Dr. Tony. If you haven't checked him out before, highly recommend him. He does have a channel and a lot of great content there. So now I will hand it off to my friend Laura.
All right. So I would say, if you've watched this, whether it was on live or replay, we have a lot of great information with all the ladies here tonight. I always say to people, like I when I work with them as clients, is I want them to write down their why. You have to write down your why. It was hard for me to do when I did it a long time ago, and it changed actually from when I started keto to when I started carnivore. Completely different reasons. It was way more vain back then, and this time it was more like, I need to get healthy, and if I get smaller, good. If not, I don't really care. But as everybody has said, you kind of do have to find your tribe. You do have to find people that are like-minded. And it's not that I don't mind having people who do something completely different. I can absolutely handle that, as long as they are decent. If somebody starts being, aggressive, I will meet you wherever you come from. So that's kind of how I deal with those. The other thing is, I think a lot of people, we've gotten so used to this, and it's probably in other cultures, but in America, everything that we celebrate is these beautiful foods, these fancy items that we make with all these ingredients, and we get used to that. And it's like we have to make the food look beautiful and bright and cheery. And really, I'm a car girl. Like, I used to work on motors and build stuff. So I think of things this way. But what you put in your mouth is the fuel for your body. So it's like the gasoline you put in your car. It may not look great, but it's exactly what the car needs. So I've changed my thinking around food. Is, how is this going to make me feel? Is this going to give me the energy I need for later in the day? Because that's more important to me than did it look bright and shiny and, sparkly? No, it's probably not unless I put enough salt on there. It might glimmer in the sunlight. But that's what I do. The doctors that I follow, the majority of the time, are Barry Baker, which I was actually interviewed by Dr. Baker. I think you were too, Cristie, and I don't know if some of the other gals were. Dr. Chafee, Hampton, Kiltz, and Dr. Avadia, because I love coronary. I'm an old heart nurse, so I love to follow those people. So that is what I have. What about you, Elle?
Yeah, what an amazing night this has been. I feel like groups like these and everybody in the chat watching, I feel like we can all come together, because I feel like life can be so chaotic sometimes, and yet there's these moments where pieces can fit together so well. So I just wanted to say, personally, thanks so much to all of you ladies for your great advice and sharing your stories. Because I think that these stories are ultimately what led me to trying the carnivore diet and changing my life forever. And when I did keto back then, it was for vanity reasons and like desperation. And I guess carnivore was also desperation and a little bit of vanity too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but I just feel like it's finally turning off the hunger signals, finally having that basic need, one of the most basic needs is hunger, satisfied. And when you actually have that satisfied, you're able to pursue greater things. We're not supposed to be thinking about food all the time. If someone is watching this, they're considering the carnivore diet, and you're thinking about food, you're thinking about what you're going to eat, what you're going to buy at the grocery store, how you're going to, prepare it, and you're looking at Pinterest and you're saving all these things and you're just like consumed by it, right? I want to give you an encouragement to think about adding more meat into your diet. Say you don't have to go all the way to carnivore. Some people just do better when they remove all the sugar and the seed oils and the processed foods. I think some people, like myself, I think actually all of you guys, but it's like we had to do it cold turkey. We had to go in and we had to change things and really start a new chapter in our lives. But then there's some people who have to do it more gradually. And I think that we should all give some grace to those people, because I feel like sometimes the carnivore community, although great and fantastic people, we can kind of be like, you have to be a strict carnivore. You can't have coffee. You can't have any seasonings. And, I mean, like, but because I like to, play devil's advocate and talk about both sides. But you know what? I think this is the first place that I've ever felt like I belonged, and it's given me purpose. Like I thought motherhood was that first, and it still is. Of course, it's the top of the list and being a good wife. But then it's like sharing and talking about the message. And that's what I do on my channel, which is Nourishment Redacted, written down here. And I do Lioness Lifestyle every Tuesday with Cristie and Adrain. And then I also have a podcast called Mother Knows Best. And that's where I like to invite resources for you, real life moms who are feeding their kids anywhere from low carb to carnivore and everybody in between, because we don't want our kids to grow up to be sick. And I think that learning from the real people, although the doctors are fantastic, don't get me wrong, they help me out so much, but I think it's the real stories that really are transformative for us. So what about you, Rhonda?
Oh, that was beautifully said, Ellie. And I agree with you about the carnivore police. Yeah, it doesn't matter which diet on the proper human diet spectrum that you choose. It could be keto, it could be low carb, could be, I think it's all part of the proper human way of eating. Now, I'm not a healthcare professional, so I don't feel qualified to offer advice because everyone is different. And as you can see from talking to these ladies today, we all had different health backgrounds. So what worked for me or what worked for Adrain or Ellie or Cristie, Laura, Robyn, it may not work the same way for you. So, but with that said, well, because seeing my outcome from my results, that's anecdotal, my anecdotal testimony. However, I will say that if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want nothing has worked for you, if the medications hasn't worked for you, and you're thinking you're eating healthy on the standard American diet and that hasn't helped, I, like everyone else here said, just give it a try for at least, I would say, 90 days. And if you have metabolic issues such as diabetes or autoimmune issues, the carnivore diet anecdotally has dramatically improved and reversed those issues in most people that I have talked to. I would advise, though, that you speak with a certified carnivore health coach. I think Robyn and G and Nurse Laura are certified health coaches. And I would also advise, before starting this way of eating, to research the topic thoroughly first from reputable carnivore doctors. And I know these names were already mentioned, but these are the doctors I also follow: Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Kim Berry, Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Philip Avadia, Dr. Sean Baker, and Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. I'm sure there's others. Oh, Dr. Kiltz. They're great resources. And this way, like Robyn said, Dr. Kim Berry has a video on every subject matter. In this way, you will know what to expect when transitioning from a high carb diet to a zero carb way of eating or a low carb way of eating. And because there are things that you might go through, like when my mom tried it and when my daughter tried it, they went through withdrawal symptoms from the carbohydrates and from the sugars. So if you didn't know that that was going to happen to you, it might discourage you and say, well, this isn't working for me, and you might quit. So doing the research first before you start, that's what my advice would be. And now, as far as my channel, I think everyone here knows that I started working, and I haven't had time to do much with my channel because of my work hours, and I'm also going to be working a lot of overtime because my goal is to be debt-free by the end of this year. So, but I will continue to post shorts on what I eat in a day when I get a chance. And additionally, I will continue to post my weekly news you can use from the carnivore community that I submit to G every week for the Meaty Mondays with the Fierce FeLions live streams. So I will continue to post those on my website. So that's all I have for now. And with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Adrain.
Thanks, Rhonda. Okay, my plea to everyone would be, okay, so there's like 400 of us Biggest Losers. We have the best training, the best coaching. We have all the best of everything, right? And then you get to see all these people succeed. So you know these people are hardworking and dedicated and they can do it, right? Most of us gained our weight back plus more. To me, that is the experiment. End of story. The standard American way of dieting does not work long term. It kills your metabolism and it's just unsustainable. And then I'm so grateful to stop the insanity of continuing to try to restrict and run my way into weight loss because my body hates it. And we just keep blaming ourselves perpetually. Well, we just didn't try hard enough. No, we're eating the wrong foods. We do need to eat more meat. And you look at our ancestors, they didn't have to count. They didn't have to run. They didn't do this insanity. They weren't struggling. Obesity has just went in the past, 20 years? Now all our kids, when I was in high school, I was big and I was 165. These days, that would be probably considered small in the high schools. So it's just, we've gone further and further and further away from our primal diet, which is a mostly meat-based diet, and then maybe some plants seasonally, locally, not year-round, not genetically modified, and not sprayed with a bunch of garbage. So that would be my plea for you, just to consider the paradigm switch and then to start digging into, I started with Paul Saladino. I know he eats fruit, but he has some fantastic videos that speak to our level of why you don't want to eat some of these other things. It was really very motivating. He motivated me not to want to go on a diet, but to learn like why I shouldn't eat certain things and wear certain clothes. And he's very educational. Then I also just like the one-off stories. I love the Kelly Hogans. I love, the grass-fed girl. I love the 2 Crazy Ketos. They are so great. They're so informational. Some people are very well read. You do not have to be a doctor to be very informational. And another person I love, obviously, is Nutrition with Judy. I don't know if I already said that one. Carnivore Doctor, Carnivore Quest. There's so many good ones. There's so much good information that you can absorb out there. Now, as far as my channel, I am interviewing former Biggest Losers to see where are they today. Those will be posting pretty soon. I'm also interviewing people in the space that motivate and inspire me and are so informational. I just love them. So there'll be great interviews on there. We've got Beyond Bariatric, where G and I are talking to different people about their stories. We're telling our story of how the surgery went for us and what ultimately for G and I was to find a meat-based way of eating to ultimately have success and health. So those are and then of course, Lioness Lifestyle on Tuesdays. You guys come check it out. We've got interviews booked through the rest of half the rest of the year. Yeah. So my big thing would be you can go ahead and try it yourself and do the studying. That's what I did for the first 3 months. And then ultimately I needed a community. So I'm part of Dr. Lisa's community. I'm part of Kelly Hogan's community. I've tried Dan Conaway's community. There's so much great community and meetups. And so those are my last final pieces. I want to thank everybody for coming to our show tonight. It was a real long one, but hopefully you found it really informational and you loved it. Cristie, Ellie, are we ending this with a roar or?
Please. Can we all have all the ladies? I would love to share a roar with everyone and make sure everyone write it down in the comments. I want to see it.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Love it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.